sort of like the battery concept, right? If you keep your battery levels high, you'll have access to more capabilities at that charge.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, because this brings in the idea, or like the conceptualization that everything's a reflection. So everything's a hologram. Like a hologram reflects the energy that's being sent out. And so we're all sending out energy all the time. So, or you could think of it like a hall of mirrors. It's like everything that I'm experiencing is my energy reflected to me. So like when I say something, the response I'm getting from you, you're having your own experience. Like I don't know what experience you're having,
Right.
but the reflection I'm getting is the reflection of the energy that I'm sending out. So if I'm talking to you, and in my head I'm feeling like Los thinks I'm an idiot, like I don't know what I'm talking about, that's the energy I'm going to be getting back. And so whether that's what you're thinking or not,
that's what you're going to hear.
That's what I'm going to hear. And then because of how energy works, it's like you might pick up on that, and you might start having thoughts of like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about, because I'm going to be getting that response. And so I'm going to start acting like I don't know what I'm talking about. So it's all this like energy bouncing around.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be always getting reflections of what I believe to be true. And so it's like your beliefs are thoughts you keep thinking, things that I hold as true, and depending on what I think is true, that's going to affect the energy I'm sending out. It's almost like if there was like a structure around me, like a basket.
Sphere or something.
Yeah, a sphere. It's like a spherical basket, and there's holes in it, so there's energy getting out, but there's places where the energy is blocked because it's like solid, and those would be like limiting beliefs. And so it's like if I'm trying to send out like all this positive creative energy, but if I have a belief about what's possible, that if I think it's not possible, or I have a belief that's the opposite of that thing being successful, it's not going to get out, or it's going to be weakened and get out. So it's like you've got this basket of beliefs around you, and so like as you start clearing those out, there's less and less blockages in the energy that's being sent out, and the energy that goes out and then is then reflected back to you in your like external experience is more in line with what I would just say is like the highest version of yourself. Like your true like divinity. That is like the pure energy that's in all of us.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't creating from that place because they have all this stuff that's blocking it, and they're not able to access the thoughts and emotions correlating with like that pure divinity because they have super low energy, because they're doing things that are decreasing their energy, so they're just not able to connect with that very like high level of creativity.
And that could be either food, what they're consuming media wise, who they're around, like where they're living, all those like
anything like
advertising.
all consumption.
So if you could like bring together from like what you just shared now, your viewpoint of energy and your worldview of that, to like the 22-year-old version of you coming out of college.
Yeah.
Like how did when did that happen for you, of realizing how important like the way you take care of yourself now, the way you view the world?
For sure.
Like
yeah, I mean it was always kind of with me, given how I'd grown up. Like I was aware of these things like fasting and juicing, and like we were vegan for a while, and like all these diets and stuff, and like breath work even, and yoga was all familiar to me.
Yeah.
But because of what my high school experience had been like, you'd asked earlier if I kind of rebelled against it. I had, and I had basically decided like I don't want anything to do with any of that stuff. So I threw the baby out with the bathwater, and I was just like, let's not get involved in any of that. And so after college, and like even in college, I started meditating again because I was very anxious. Like I had all this tension, and I was having a hard time feeling my emotions or like being transparent with people, like all this anxiety, and that I couldn't communicate or articulate, and it was like affecting my relationships and things. So I started meditating again, and that was kind of the start of it. And then gradually after college, when I started living on my own and like having the freedom to, and like really realizing like, oh, I get to choose everything that I'm doing. Like I moved to Silicon Valley, San Jose, and was working for a tech company and was making good money. All of a sudden I was like, okay, now I get to choose. Like I get to choose what I eat. I get to choose what I'm doing on the weekends, like all this stuff. And so started moving, like trying to figure it out, like the way that we all are. It's like, okay, how can I like optimize what's going on here? And just started noticing more, like, oh, that doesn't feel good to eat, or like drinking is really making me emotional and makes me feel shitty afterwards. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Those sorts of things, just becoming more and more aware and like tuning into how I was feeling and caring about how I was feeling versus like looking outside of me. And that was another big piece of it, is for so long when we moved to Helena at the start of middle school, I didn't fit in, and I was having a hard time relating to people, so I started looking outside of me for validation, like most kids do, most teenagers do. It's like, okay, what is cool? What's everyone else doing? I need to do that in order to be accepted, in order to feel good about myself. And so gradually after college started like shifting away from that and realizing like, no, how I feel and what I think is important. It's the main thing that's important. And so started rediscovering, and luckily I had a few friends that were kind of on the same path, started rediscovering a lot of the stuff that I'd first learned about growing up. Eating healthier, like the yoga, like meditating, breath work, even like getting into more of those things. And I had a few friends who were really expanders for me in that way, where it's like once I started showing interest in that instead of being like party Lance, then they're like, oh yeah, there's a whole world of other stuff over here. And so really started going like full on into that over time. And so that was like much of my 20s, and there was a pivotal moment where like I really woke up to the importance of this, and that was how old was I? Maybe 24, and I was working. One belief or something that I picked up along the way that kind of wraps into all of this, the community and the real estate and everything, was this intense desire to make money. And where recently I've uncovered that came from is when we had to leave the community growing up, I understood what I thought was the reason for that, and was partially reason for that, was that because there wasn't enough money. Because a lot of the conversation in my family and in the community at the time was, now that the spiritual community, like we don't have the leader, things are kind of fizzled out, there was all this talk about the budget and the money, and my dad was an accountant for the community, and so I started hearing about that, and then it was like, oh, we had to move because dad had to get a job so we could raise a family, so it was like this money thing. And so how I understood it was, if there's more money, like if we make more money, then that doesn't need to happen again.
We don't have to go to hell.
Then if we can make enough money, we don't have to go to hell. Exactly.
It's like basic thing. Like, who doesn't want to go to hell? Cool, make more money.
Yeah, make more money.
Yeah.
And so I got really, and which kind of led to what I studied in school. It was like entrepreneurship, business. It's like, I'm going to make a lot of money, and I'm going to figure out a way that I can just like set up my life and protect myself financially, so like nothing like that has to happen to me or my family.
Yeah.
And there were good intentions behind that. It's like, everyone wants to take care of their parents and like provide a good life for their family, but there was also like this fear coming from like, we don't want to go to hell again.
Right.
So after college, I started working for a software company, didn't like that, and the next company I started working for was a real estate lending company. And I had generally an idea that real estate was a cool thing to be into, and generally led to a good life.
Yeah.
I had an aunt and an uncle who lived in Orange County, California. My aunt is still a realtor there. She's one of like the top realtor in all of Orange County, and they would invest in property, and we would go on vacation there, and it was like my favorite place to go on vacation. And they were in real estate, and so like as a kid, I'd learned like real estate is something that leads to a good lifestyle, and you can make a lot of money in, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, right.
And so started working for this real estate lender because I was like, it's real estate, I want to get into that. But I was still attached to this like drive and it wasn't a healthy desire to make money, it was fear-based. I need to make money or else I'm screwed.
So this doesn't happen, not like I want to make money.
Yeah.
This can't happen. It's like,
So I started, this company was in San Francisco, I lived in San Jose, which was an hour train ride. So I would ride my bike to the train, take an hour train ride my bike for 15 more minutes to go to work, do the same thing back, and most of the time the train was delayed. And so I was waking up at like 5 a.m. to get to work, and then I wouldn't get back most nights until like 8:39. And I was working crazy hours at this real estate lender where it was a classic San Francisco tech company where, hey, you're a year out of college and you don't know anything about real estate? Cool. Throw you into position and you figure it out, because we got to grow, because we're VC backed and we just need to grow as fast as possible.
Yeah. And
so I was working dozens and dozens and dozens, like over 100 real estate deals. Didn't really even know anything about it. And it's just like figure it out. So like stress levels were through the roof. Like I was already an anxious person, like especially when it came to money, but it's like now I'm talking to other people about their money and their huge financial transactions, and it was like all this like money fear and stuff just like right up in my face. And then I'm working crazy hours and I wasn't taking care of myself. I was still not eating healthy. I was still eating like burgers and fries. I would still go out and have beers with the guys. And it all led to me getting really sick for a couple of weeks in a row. And it culminated with me, I'd have like a fever for like 4 or 5 days. And in the middle of the night, I'm just covered in sweat, just like so sick. And I had an out-of-body experience. Like I left, my soul, like it was like basically I remember being like I was like an energetic ball. I left my body and started floating up towards the ceiling in this bedroom, and I remember it wasn't like I was looking down like physically, it was like I could see the whole thing at once. I could see my body there, and I could see the like this light thing up by the ceiling. And it was still connected. There was like this cord connecting it.
It's called
the silver cord.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long it was there. It didn't last very long. But I remember just like witnessing this. And it wasn't scary. There was really no emotion around it. It was just like, oh.
Just
but the main realization was I could see my physical body. And it was like in my face what I was doing to myself. By working, doing to my physical body, and how essentially I was gonna die if I didn't change, and then all of a sudden it was like getting hit. It was like this huge electric jolt, and I got shot back to my body, and I sat upright, and I was like panting, and I remembered the whole thing, and that was kind of the turning point where I was like, I was already kind of on this. I was aware like something's not right, like. And I was trying to figure out what to do. I was like trying to meditate and do whatever I could, but it was like I gotta do something like on every level. Like I gotta address what's going on. And so a week later, quit the job.
Wow.
And so it wasn't so much like I started my own lending company, not so much out of
adventure.
It's like, oh, I'm ready for this. Is my next thing. It was like, I'm dying, and that's what I've learned to do recently, so I'm gonna do that. So quit my job. Luckily had a vacation coming up. Tiffany and I went to the Philippines for
so you were with Tiff
a couple of weeks.
Right?
Yeah, Tiff and I were dating.
Okay.
We'd met like the year before, I guess. Okay. So she like witnessed all of this, and she was concerned about it for sure, but she was very much in that lifestyle too. Like her life's changed a lot since. And we've helped each other. Like there's been things I've shared with her that helped her grow, and she, likewise. So she was there for that part of it. But I came back from that vacation in the Philippines, which was a nice little like break and like distanced me from that. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I can to like get healthier, and that's not the life I want to live, and it's not gonna save my family or make me more money or any of this stuff. And so gradually from there built the lending business, which is the whole crazy journey. And started regaining my health and really diving deeper into these things, like all the stuff I practice now, and really prioritizing my energy.
That's amazing.
You inspire the hell out of me, man.
Thanks.
Make me like sit there and just like.
Also, this is not disappointing at all. I had a high expectation for this conversation, and they are blasting expectations through the roof right